Today on Owl Have You Know.
One of my greatest actually experiences at Rice was how the school embraced me. I was immediately embraced by the staff, the faculty, the students. And so it was home to me the moment I opened the door.
Welcome back to Owl Have You Know. I'm your host, David Druglever, Rice MBA class of 2012. On the line with me, I have a special guest, Runsi Sen. Runsi Sen is a class of 2004, and she's the founder, president, and CEO of Ovarcome, also a TEDx speaker, a board member of the MD Anderson Cancer Center, as well as a board member of the Rice Business Alumni. Runsi, that's a mouthful. Hopefully, I got that right. So, welcome to I'll Have You Know.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me. It's my honor.
I am so excited to talk. I did all my online stalking of you, and I watched your TEDx, which was fantastic and very moving, and I've got an idea of what you're doing with Overcome. So there's a lot to unpack here. Could you give us a sort of a harbor cruise and or just highlight real moments maybe that you want to show or share that has brought you to where you are now, like what that journey has looked like to bring you to where you are now?
Absolutely. So, as I always say, that people look for a purpose in their life, all the time. And so, for me, the way it transpired that the purpose showed itself to me with my mother's death. So, she passed away from ovarian cancer 11 years ago, and so after her passing, really, I found my purpose in life, and that was to create this foundation, which is Overcome, for ovarian cancer patients worldwide, to raise awareness and to provide assistance to ovarian cancer patients in need. So it took my mother's death for me to find the purpose, but I think it's a very beautiful way, and I call it her parting gift, if that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense, and thank you for sharing that personal part of your story. And it's really interesting to see how the Rice business experience has interwoven itself into this, and we certainly want to unpack that as well. Can you share with us, a little bit about that experience and how it shaped you, and more specifically, are there some things that you know now that you wish you had known or had picked up during school?
Absolutely. So when I went into Rise, obviously I went in with the fullest conviction that I was going to graduate as one of those MBA students that that are doing so much for the business world, and driving change and driving the mission forward for the for-profit businesses. So I was determined, to get my mark on the corporate sector, if you will. However, one of the things that I do wish that I would know when I went to school then is to build my own personal brand. So we don't talk about that often, but generally speaking, after it's been many years that I have graduated from Rice, but it does seem to me that building that own personal brand, that building your passion, and that is a very big differentiating factor for you, which doesn't come across that vividly while you are in the classroom of your business school experience. So for example, when we used to take all those presentation classes, like how to present the best, how you stand, how you speak, all of those things, we were told that don't say a lot of times. This is just an example. But I realized after I graduated and I went into my work, my for-profit work, and then into nonprofit work, it really doesn't matter how you present, as long as you present with passion, as long as your passion comes across and your expertise in the matter that you are trying to present on comes across fully. It actually, your own unique style of presentation makes a big difference versus what you were taught in business school. So just a very small example, but I think what I think I would have spent a little more time if I knew about this is how to develop my own personal brand, so that anytime Runsi or David or anyone else walks into the room, people can immediately identify, okay, this is what he or she is passionate about, and this is what he or she stands for. That is your personal brand. And that is something that I wish I knew while going into the RISE program.
In this case, your experience with your mother and her passing had fed into your uncovering your passion and finding your purpose, as you had said. And so that's a very unique experience. And for other folks that are trying to do what you're talking about, building their personal brand and building that passion, it's that something that just sort of comes from life experience, or can you sort of systematize that and be more intentional with that? How do you see that, right, for folks that maybe didn't have, as intense experience as you had?
That's a really good question, David. I'll tell you, I give you this example that when I was working with Direct Energy in my for profit career, we went into one of those, all day motivational speaking sessions. So I was sitting in the audience and listening to this individual. He was talking about how you get excited about going to work every morning, and that's your passion, that's your purpose. And I sat there and I was thinking that, I don't feel that, even though I'm in a corporate career, which I'm doing well. I am, I'm very happy with where I am, but I really don't feel that passion every morning. And so I came back and I did, kind of delve into this a little more, just to kind of think about, am I in the wrong place? What I am doing is not what I am meant to do. So that question stayed with me in my head. And I'll tell you, after I made the switch, and now today, after almost 9 years of running this nonprofit, I can stand on that very stage and tell you the same exact thing, that I am actually passionate about Mondays. I'm actually looking forward to get back to work and do my thing that I do, because this is what I have embraced. So to answer your question, I think a little bit of it comes to you from your own personal experience. No matter how good you are at what you do, unless you put your heart into it and you feel that compelling passion inside you, that sentence just remains a sentence. And for me, fortunately, that sentence actually transformed into something that I can actively work with.
It's a very insightful answer. I appreciate that. And there's two things that are seemingly organically dovetailing off of that. You talk about presentation skills. That's a big part, of course, the business school experience. And so, as I watch your TEDx experience, you're very polished and very articulate. And is that something that you had consciously chosen to do? Was that brought to your attention? How did you go about choosing that platform to bring awareness, to your passion? And would you recommend going through a similar process to other folks?
Yeah, so the TEDx, I did not go to TEDx. It came to me. So actually, I never submitted an application. I did not do any of that. And so I just received an email from their committee saying that I have been chosen to do this because some folks, nominated me to do this talk. And so when the opportunity presented itself, I took the opportunity to use this platform to talk about several things that I have not talked about in a public forum before. And so this was a very intensely moving experience for me, because I shared my life, and I shared my story, something that I hold very close to my heart, with a lot of other people. But I did realize after the event and after the presentations, the sheer number of emails and messages I received from people who have been on the same journey with me, and kind of felt the passion, and felt the experiences. They could kind of identify with the experiences that I went through. So to answer your question, TEDx chose me, but I feel that after doing this talk, I feel like I reached so many people that needed something like this from me or anyone else, to just kind of go on and feel the encouragement and the inspiration. So I would definitely recommend something like this to others who are interested, because you might think that your story is not worth sharing, but trust me that all of us have some unique stories in our lives, and you don't know how you reach another person or make an impact on another person's life just by sharing your story. So I would definitely recommend doing something like this should the opportunity present itself.
You mentioned before offline the importance of creating connections and nurturing your network, and certainly your TEDx experience has poured nitro into that. When you look back on your business school experience, is that something that you were very intentional about? And what was that impact with the connections you made during school going forward? Is there anything unique that you've done, or that you would have any kind of call to action for folks when they think about creating the connections from business school and going forward?
Absolutely. So I think that Rice is forever. This is a kind of school that is just not 2 years. For me, I will tell you this, that I was an international student coming into Rice, and so it is difficult and it's challenging for someone who's an international student to walk into a classroom full of 170 people that you're kind of trying to get adjusted to, because there are so many other adjustments you're making while being someone from another country, right? So it is for all those folks that are listening that are possibly international students, I would love to mention this to you, that one of my most the greatest actually experiences at Rice was how the school embraced me. And so I, for not for one day, and I will say this forever, not for one day I felt that I was an outsider. I was immediately embraced by the staff, the faculty, the students, and so it was home to me the moment I opened the door. And so that was a phenomenal experience for the next 2 years, which can do wonders for your confidence. And I do want to mention that this is an experience at Rice that I will never forget. And so not just that, David, I also feel that after I walked out of Rise, not just students of my batch, but there were students after me, before me, that stayed in touch with me, and I actually stayed in touch with Rise when I started Overcome. I We actually hosted our first few events at the
McNair.
McNair Hall.
Mhm.
Exactly. We hosted a few of our events there. Rise gave it to us for free, and just to help us, get our feet on the ground. So I don't take these things lightly, and I feel that the support that I have received from Rise, starting from the dean to the administration, it is just absolutely phenomenal. And especially for someone who has left home to pursue their passion, this means a whole lot more than just being a student in the US. This has been an incredible experience, and the connections to date, I am still in touch with so many of our Rice MBAs. That I did class with. So very recently, one of the my classmates reached out to me, and he basically said that his mom passed away from ovarian cancer when we were in school. I did not know that, but now he wants to help out and he wants to get engaged with Overcome because he feels tied to the cause. So things like this is just very precious, and I feel that Rise brings that community and that feeling of togetherness that is so important, and that builds your confidence and just makes you an incredibly better person going forward.
Wow. That was super powerful and awesome that the school had helped to host and with the building to get Overcome going. And I think that's a great segue at this point. And I know this is a primary focus for you. I've taken a look at so much of what you've put out there and your website and everything. But for the folks that aren't acquainted with Overcome, in your own words, can you describe the charter or the mission of Overcome and what really success looks like for your organization?
Absolutely. So basically, Overcome, as I mentioned at the onset of our discussion, we are an ovarian cancer foundation, and the reason being, as I shared with you, I lost my mom to ovarian cancer, and so in her memory and with her inspiration, I created this foundation. And so we have, I always say that we have four pillars of our mission. So one is our research funding to find a cure, which ultimately will find a cure for cancer. So we do very much invest in research. We also do our global awareness programs through our social media, through our events, and with our partners. We have a patient assistance program called Overcare. This one is unique in its nature because we provide lifestyle, like financial assistance package, as well as psychosocial assistance packages to patients, ovarian cancer patients in need. And I'll tell you, David, that when we started this program Overcare 5 years ago, we started with MD Anderson as our partner, first partner. But now, after 5 years, we are working with over 137 hospitals nationwide. So this program has really taken off, and it is really impactful, where we can see like direct impact to the patient and the woman's life, and of course to the lives of the family members as well. And the fourth pillar, I always say, is of course the love and the faith and the support that we receive and we continue to receive from the community, without which the other three would fall apart. So our house is built on very strong pillars, and I feel that we are blessed, and we have a very strong village, and we have the support. And so in a nutshell would be Overcome for you.
That's fantastic, and that is a wide array of things to do. So hats off to you. And so one thing I wanted to ask, and maybe I skipped past it, is this transition from the for-profit to the nonprofit world. I think we understand the impetus for this and what made you want to make that shift. Could you maybe provide a little bit more detail on some of the either harrowing moments or pitfalls as you made that transition from for profit to nonprofit, especially for folks that either aren't in nonprofits or are considering that, so maybe you can pass some lessons learned as you went through that journey.
Growing up, one of the things I kept hearing from everyone that is that I live my life with my heart. And so I was told that I need to tone down on my the heart factor, if you will, and the emotional side of me, and just to become more practical and all of that good stuff. So I was like, okay, MBA is the way to go, because that will bring me to practical ground like nothing else. So I went to Rice, I did the program. But I'll tell you that the switch was entirely led by my heart. There was no other reason, because I never had any nonprofit background, never worked for a nonprofit before in business school. And this is one of the things that I would like to see changed, is there was not much focus on nonprofit management. And so there was nothing in me that was prepared to make this transition. So this was completely a transformation that was led by heart. But I'll tell you this, that being at Rise for the 2 years that I was, it did give me the confidence. It gave me, the tools to analyze my risk of doing this. It gave me the credibility behind my name. It just made me think about, what are the challenges and the benefits, and would they outweigh one another. And also the fact that just the marketing and the strategy classes that I was a part of, then the presentation, all of those things, that I cannot just tell you that there was one thing. And then of course the finance classes too. I mean, if I was creating a nonprofit, it's the whole 360, right? So I had to, without the knowledge that I gained from Rice, I don't think I would have the courage to make that transition. So even if the transformation came from the heart, the courage was provided by Rice, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, sometimes we just need, that support system or the right frameworks to move forward in the way that our heart's leading us. And I think it's so interesting. I remember offline when we were talking about how the universe responds to your passion, and it's so interesting to see how that happened and how that coalesced for you. So it's very inspirational, Runsi, and so it's and how everything ties together, right? Because you don't really know going forward how this is all going to work, right? There are a lot of points, where like I don't really know, but as you lead by your heart, things kind of come towards you, right? And you know, the kind of the universe sort of makes things happen, just to be a little woo woo, but your life is living proof of how things work out, you know, when you really tune in. So
But I'll tell you this though, David, just to add something to that is, even though the whole drive obviously came from the heart, but I run this business as a business. You know, I run Overcome as a business. I do not like nonprofit as a whole new. Sometimes it just is just treated in a very different way, that it's a nonprofit where nobody is supposed to make profit. Nobody, it's a very different way of looking at this sector. But I feel that it should be run just as any other business, even more so because we offer these programs. We, as in all nonprofits, we offer these programs and services that everybody, like in their own community, it's so needed, and so it needs to be run with the head. And so even though the encouragement came from Rice, from all the things that I learned from Rice. The decision to switch obviously was led by the heart, but also after you make the transition, you actually decide to run with it. Then these two things are not enough. Then you have to kind of run with it and stay with it with the business skills that you have learned out of the business school, because those without those, I don't think I would be as successful with Overcome.
absolutely. And so interesting because I'm sure that there's been, you know, of course, a myriad of challenges, and of course, for nonprofits, you know, funding is a big deal as well. You know, as you continue to execute on the foundation's charter and all those things that you mentioned between the funding and the awareness and the patient assistance and overcare, what are some of the things that are really the big rocks that you're trying to solve for now, that is maybe the long pole in the tent, if you will, for, you know, moving forward with your foundation and bringing awareness to ovarian cancer?
Yeah, so ovarian cancer, fortunately, is a disease that it's 1 in 72 women get diagnosed. So it is not considered to be something that happens to almost every woman, which is fantastic, right? So, but awareness for this disease is very low, and that's where we are working very hard, not just within the U.S. but globally, to raise awareness on ovarian cancer. And I do think, David, I would like to mention that the men as spouses, significant others, sons, friends, brothers, they have a big role in this as well. The woman being the center of any household, when something happens to her, the whole family kind of falls apart. So it's important for the men and in the family to also learn about this disease, and so that they can keep their women kind of aware. And so you asked me how the funding and everything else progressed over the years. So we started 9 years ago, with a bake sale, and this was just with friends, and I think we raised about $800, and we were super excited because we didn't expect. We went from ground zero. There was, when I started Overcome, there was zero funding. There was like $0 in the bank, but we just went with our vision, and I just somehow felt the confidence that we were going to proceed with this. And so after we raised that $800, we were very, very happy with it. And then, somehow today, 9 years later, we have companies like GSK and AstraZeneca and others that are global companies that are out there sponsoring us. So I am so grateful and thankful to not just the companies that support us, but every individual that has stepped forward to make a donation. We have had so many friends from Rice that are either involved in our leadership council, or every annual donors, or they have helped in campaigns. They have helped, attend events. So Rice has been through and through a big supporter of all we do.
I love that. And this is such a great harbor cruise of not just your life, but also your efforts. And so, maybe in the last couple of minutes here, can you share some of the unique challenges of ovarian cancer as opposed to other types of cancer? I don't have to, of course, come up with a list of other types of cancer, but some things that are uniquely challenging about ovarian cancer that maybe make it a little more difficult than other forms of cancer.
Yes. So ovarian cancer, first of all, it is the deadliest of all gynecologic cancers for those who don't know. However, the diagnosis doesn't happen very often in the early stages. So, for example, over 70% of women get diagnosed with ovarian cancer at advanced stages. And the reason being that when you present with those symptoms, those are usually very vague and non-specific symptoms that women tend to ignore. And so by the time you actually go to a doctor and report your symptoms, you are already at an advanced stage, and that is, like I told you, over 70%. The other thing that happens is that there is lack of awareness in the primary care physicians also on the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer, often overlooked. And however, the good thing is that if you do get diagnosed with ovarian cancer early, like stage one, possibly stage two, your chances for 5 year survival is greater than 92%. And that is a very significant number, which tells you that early detection is key for ovarian cancer. But the awareness of this disease is so low that majority and over of women get diagnosed at um, advanced stages. And also, ovarian cancer doesn't have any early detection tests like mammograms or pap smears. There is no screening for ovarian cancer. So when we go to our well woman visits, we are never talked about ovarian cancer. There are no screening tests to detect what's going on. And even though there have been many advancements in this field, the doctors are still kind of trying to find that screening test that will help detect ovarian cancer. One thing I would mention that we actually came up with a an acronym which is called the beach symptom. So all of us love to go to beach, and so this beach is a different one. This actually lists out all the five major symptoms of ovarian cancer, and so we have it on our website, on our social media platforms. And so if you go there and look up the beat symptom, you can share with your family members. You can just share across your social media platforms. That way people get to know what the symptoms are and they can be on top of it a little more.
Fantastic. I think it's a great segue to wind down here and get your last thoughts. I would be remiss to not give you the opportunity to let folks know how they can get in touch to either learn more about Overcome and your efforts and how to engage with you online or otherwise. What are some of those best avenues to learn more and to help to support your foundation?
Yeah, so Overcome is, obviously, we have a website, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. So if you would look us up and find us there, that would be great, and that's a great way to stay updated with the progress of the organization. As an alumni of Rise, I would love for you to reach out to me, and you can always find me. I am on LinkedIn. I do not do Facebook much, but I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn, and also, of course, my email address which is runsi@overcome.org. So feel free to please reach out to me, and always remember that it's lead with your heart, but follow your passion, but take the encouragement from all the business school learnings that you have, and be confident to make a difference, because you can.
Runsi, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to share this time with you. And I just want to call it out in case folks don't check the show notes that should have the information that you just mentioned. The website is Ovarcome, so OVARCOME.org, overcome.org. So be sure to reach out, check it out, and as well as your TEDx talk. If you just type in Runsi Sen, it will come up, and it's a fantastic, very motivational, inspirational talk. Runsi, that's all I have for you today. I'm going to drop the mic. I really enjoyed this time. Thank you again.
I did too. Thank you so much, David.
This has been I'll Have You Know. Thanks for listening. You can find links and more information about our guests, hosts, and announcements on our website, business.rice.edu. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts, and leave us a comment while you're at it and let us know what you think. I'll Have You Know is a production of Rice Business and is sponsored by the Rice Business Alumni Board. The hosts of I'll Have You Know are myself, Christine Dobbin, and David Druglever.